Fast forward, any come over Chinese or high GH Politics Avenue. Podcast or the training because making headlines. And your jembre na EDB Esum Awasi. And Idiom Brasimonia, Yankuyan Simu. Yakuyan Sima, minority in parliament. And I mean, say, Umu Etimi Atin in Tescoco, Ede Afa a year. Chief Justice Onyanye Chief Justice mpo incoming Chief Justice Parliament ebe transe na omu etimi averteno na omu etimi aswen in as new CJ na me no kasei minority se omu ntiase adintra because Torkonoo case omu ede court no court ensheda entrance emu asem no se Torkonoo odifo anase wodibim ni senti no asem no court no de enya de a omu betiase amaya veti eye CJ yemo ransibinim am I veti a year? I beg your pardon. Baffoe Boni mum. Now we nyanye CG.
Move away from that and take you to Parliament right now because the minority is this afternoon demanding the suspension of the veteran of Paul Baffoe Boni as Chief Justice until all outstanding legal challenges concerning the removal of the Chief Justice or former Chief Justice Torkonoo are resolved in court. In a motion filed at the Speaker's office, we understand the NPP lawmakers are asking the Speaker to hold all processes by the Appointments Committee, citing current cases at the High Court and the ECOWAS Court. The Appointment Committee has scheduled to vet the Chief Justice nominee on November 10, 2025. Let's connect right now with Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Christian Yale for a bit more on this particular subject matter. Chris, we know the removed CJ has about 3 pending cases in court. Walk us through, if you can, those cases and what the minority is saying. Hello, Chris. Can you hear me? It does appear Chris cannot hear us at this particular point in time. We'll seek to rectify the connection with him because there are quite a number of schools of thought as to whether or not these pending applications in respective courts, some the High Court, some the Supreme Court, amongst others, could be subject upon which the hand of Parliament can be stayed in carrying out its constitutionally mandated function in terms of vetting. And there are those who say, yes, it should. There are those who say it shouldn't. But let's try one more time with that connection with Christopher, or Christian Yale, I should say. Christian, I was asking if you could walk us through what the argument of the minority is vis-a-vis the pending cases of the removed Chief Justice.
About 5 members from the minority caucus have submitted this motion at the office of the clerk to Parliament, making these demands. But just to run through what we know so far pertaining to the pending cases filed by the removed Chief Justice, we know that there is one case that she had filed at the Supreme Court, and that particular case indeed was challenging the removal process by the Puaman Committee. I mean, I've heard a number of lawyers make the argument that that substantive case at the Supreme Court concerning the Puaman Committee's duty is actually moot as of now because the committee has already finished its work, or part of it, which has led to her removal from office. But we also know that at the High Court, for instance, she has had one case that was seeking to make the case that if the president has removed her from office as Chief Justice, she still has that right to remain as a judge on the Supreme Court bench. But we know the Attorney General had responded to that, for instance, and demanded that that case be transferred to the Supreme Court so that that constitutional interpretation involved in that particular bit be dealt with as to whether when she is removed as a Supreme Court Justice or a Chief Justice, she can still remain as a Supreme Court judge. And there again, Eric, we know that there is that other case that has to do with her demand that she be reinstated, and also requesting that even the appointment of Paul Baffoe as Chief Justice and his vetting be put on hold. We know that last week, for instance, during a media engagement with the press corps, that was even last 2 weeks, the minority leader had lambasted the Paramount Committee, describing it as unconstitutional and unfair, the processes that led to the removal of the former CJ. And so this motion that we have cited, which I have a copy of right now, Eric, is saying that in pursuant to Articles 1101 and then 125 to 127 of the Constitution, and also even that of Article 1441 and 146, Parliament should, as a matter of fact, cause the appointment committee to halt any proceedings concerning the vetting of Paul Baffoe as Chief Justice, and also, as a matter of fact, they are making the case that all of those cases that I've cited at the High Court and even that at the ECOWAS Court be dealt with, so that these outstanding legal battles be dealt with before any possible consideration of a new Chief Justice can proceed. Eric.
And it's interesting that this argument is being made because it feeds directly into further argument as to whether or not pending cases before the courts can stay the hand of Parliament. Has there been a reaction from the majority side to this latest motion, if we can describe it as that, put before the Speaker asking for the suspension of this vetting?
In fact, we look forward to seeing how this is going to, turn out to be, because on the majority side, even from that particular engagement we had with leaders from both sides of the House 2 weeks ago, we know that the majority leader, Mahama, had immediately responded to the concerns of the minority leader, Alexander Afenyomarkin, and among many other things, Eric, he had indicated that those concerns, in as much as the minority may deem them appropriate, are not sustained, because then we know last week, upon the resumption of Parliament, the Speaker read the official notice or communication from the President announcing Paul Baffoe as the new Chief Justice, and subsequently making that referral to the appointment committee. In fact, I can confirm, and just like we reported last week Friday, on that particular day, the appointment committee held that backdoor, or what they call the preliminary meeting, to discuss the day and the modalities concerning the consideration of Justice Paul Baffoe, after which we now know officially that next 2 weeks Monday, which is 10th November, the vetting should proceed. So when you engage the majority MPs from the back door, the understanding is that they are ready. The vetting is going to proceed as communicated and as the appointment committee has indicated. But the minority is demanding, in this memo which I have a copy of, is demanding that the Business Committee of Parliament immediately reprograms the order of the week and cause the Attorney General to be summoned before the House, or any other committee that the House will decide, to provide urgent update on all of these cases that Gertrude Arabe Saba Saki Torkonoo has filed at the respective court, in the High Court and at the ECOWAS Court, before we can proceed from there. Eric.
Right, and let's talk possible implications, because we know this will come up on the floor for intense debate, and then the expectation is that the Speaker will have to make a determination on this. Are we picking indications that should this motion fail to be upheld by the Speaker, we could see the minority boycott the vetting of the Chief Justice nominee?
Eric, it is very interesting to expect what is going to come out of this, because we know that the minority leader, Alexander Afenyomarkin, on a number of occasions has indicated that his side would not boycott the vetting of the Chief Justice nominee, Paul Baffoe. However, with this motion that is, in fact, signed by these respective applicants, we have Anyimedu Entry, MP for Asante Akim Central. We have John Darkon, who happens to be the legal counsel to the minority, MP for Swami. We have Gloria Owusu, MP for Trobo, and then we have Damata Salam Ama Apianima, MP for Efija Kwabre South. We have Alhassan Suleiman Atampuli, MP for Gushegu, and also Kwabena Boatin, MP for Ejiso. These are the 5 of the minority caucus who have filed this motion. These are the applicants, the 5 of them. We wait to see whether the earlier position of the minority leader that they are not going to boycott proceedings would hold, because then repeatedly on different occasions they have made that clarion call that the removal of the former Chief Justice Torkonoo was unconstitutional. But should the Speaker fail to grant this request that they are demanding, we wait to see if indeed they would boycott it, but also the expectation that it may even become a matter of debate on the floor, possible today or even tomorrow. Eric.
Christian, thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague Christian Yale in Parliament for us with details of the latest from the minority who are seeking to have the Speaker and the Business Committee of the House reschedule indefinitely the vetting of Chief Justice nominee Paul Baffoe, arguing or making the case strongly that they allow all cases involving the removed Chief Justice Gertrude Torkonoo be dealt with in the respective courts before any such consideration can be made. We remain to see what becomes of this motion a lot later in the course of Parliament's business. But we'll remain in the House because the Public Accounts Committee is continuing its sitting and considering the Auditor General's report of 2024. We know right now that the Finance Ministry is present along with agencies beneath it. Let's take you there right now for some excerpts.
Who needs information can come to the fund to verify for themselves, because these are the old staff still in here. Thank you.
Madam, you are discharged.
And you know that the current possession of 3 helicopters by the police is also another flying coffin. You know that, right? The previous administration spent...
You mean the Addo administration?
Of course.
What did they do?
They bought 3 helicopters and they just used it for the Independence Day celebration, just to show that indeed they have done something great. Ask yourself today, where are those helicopters?
Have they been grounded?
1976 helicopters. They bought 1976 helicopters, 3 of them for the usage of the Ghana Police Service. Ask them if they can even fly in those helicopters today. Those helicopters are still there now.
No,
and I'm sure that...
But in the aviation industry, it is aircraft are always retrofitted. So, have they been grounded?
They are grounded. We spent a lot of money to train police pilots. They are not flying the helicopters. They are there. They are parked as scraps now. And I think that if Honorable Habib would be just to this country and even to his party, I'm sure the RTI should have been tailored for the 3 grounded helicopters and not this issue about a helicopter crash. If he wants to be fair. Because the previous administration spent our hard-earned money, right, to purchase old helicopters, flying coffin copters, I will call it, coffin copters, for the usage by our gallant men and women in the police service, which was not right, Roland. And so the NPP should serve as that. Indeed, that's why I'm calling on the NDC to expedite the processes of ORA. To expedite the process of ORA. I did hear Honorable talk about the issues of the National Service scandal. Do you quite remember? The former Vice President told us that the Ghana card has eradicated all ghost names in our public payroll. Do you remember that?
Yeah, he said
that for the introduction of the Ghana card, all ghost names have been eradicated from the payroll. So indeed, Bawumia should be questioned. How babies, how elderly people over 100 years were paid.
In the audit report, the auditors did indicate that there were bypasses from their system. So they had a system in place because we're told that the application was a good application.
He talked about digitization, that he had created a digital platform that would eradicate any loopholes that would enhance corruption in our public polity. He talked about that. Why wasn't that efficient.
But there was a system in place. I just
That's
want
what I'm saying, that the system...
Audit establishes that.
Human
Human beings
Roland,
decided to bypass.
Roland, I am saying that the system itself is a failure, just like his candidature, just like his leadership as the head of the economic management
Dr.
team.
Inusa,
And so,
United Party.
Indeed,
And
Mahmoud Bawumia has failed. Indeed, that 2.2 billion that we are talking about today, we have to expedite the processes on investigation and really bring all the perpetrators to book.
All right.
Because the people of Ghana that have been denied adequate health care, adequate, infrastructure for schools, adequate hospitals, right? Adequate roads, and indeed, access to decent capital to do business and leapfrog their destitution or destituted state is what we are talking about.
Is it going to be made public? The pressure is there.
You know, I've not said anything about the NSS. Listen, you've not given me any chance to.
Is there anything to defend?
Can I have one?
You have nothing to defend.
Can I have at least?
You have nothing to defend, Zato.
Let me speak, Zato. I beg
You have nothing to defend.
The air crash.
I think that we are becoming very insensitive as a people.
What do you mean by that?
What is the rush in going to invoke freedom to information to be able to get...
But the government said 30 days. So.
Please go and check on the average globally when there is a plane crash, the number of days or months or years it takes for them to finish an investigation. Normally, like Dr. rightly said, on the average, 2 years, 24 months, in some cases 3 years. It can be more than 3 years before we are able to come out with a comprehensive report as to what exactly transpired. Normally what they will do within 30 days is to, in our case, we're able to see the black box, they call it. They saw it very early. Because normally they'll go in there, the whole place will be coded off. They try to investigate, you can see a few items. That's the report you normally would expect within 30 days. But the detailed report is exactly what happened. They bring experts in, they bring the manufacturers in and all that. That cannot happen within a month or 30 days. That definitely will take a longer time. Why? Is there a case that the government wants to hide anything from the people of this country? Are we all not interested in knowing what exactly happened? So why? What is Habib's issue? Why is he crying more than a bereaved? Why is he crying more than a bereaved?
It was a national crisis.
So is he the one who cares about national crisis more than everybody else in this country? Habib wants to tell us that he cares about the life that what happened
What's
to Ghana.
What's your counter-argument for not demanding or for anybody saying the report should not be brought out?
Is anybody saying that the report should not? What must be public will definitely be public. Okay. And a sensitive report of that nature is not everything you can put in the public domain. So there are areas of the report that must be a public one. And there's an aspect of it that experts must keep for their expert work. Most of this is a military aircraft that we are talking about. It's not a civilian aircraft for that matter. So whatever must be public knowledge, definitely will come to the public domain. Okay. And so I don't think there's any need for anybody to start putting pressure and make this issue a subject for discussion at this point. 30 days when people are saying mourning and crying over the death. I don't think
that's what you wanted to.
Thank you very much.
Is it on the national service?
Yes, start. And something quick. You said the Ghana Police Service bought 1976 helicopters. That is a lie. It's a big lie. You can file an RTI with the IGP to find out whether it's 1976. You lie. I'm saying you lie. Those are small helicopters, mostly for surveillance. They can carry about 2 or 3 points. They are not. You lie. Secondly, national service. National service. I'm saying national service.
His position is that they are retrofitted from.
And all I'm saying is that they are not 1976. You can find that you lie.
They are not new. They are second-hand helicopters.
I have never sat anywhere to defend any act of corruption or alleged corruption by anybody. I have never, and I will never do that. I have never done that.
But nobody has
that's on my.
That's that they chop the money.
In fact, I was here last week with you, and I told you I supported the government's effort to establish specialized courts for teachers. I've said that.
You said that? I didn't hear you.
I said that, and I'm also saying I will never, and I've never done that. All I'm saying is that once the person's presumption of innocence is guaranteed, once the person's fundamental human rights are protected, I have no right. Because, and I've also said it, last week I sat here and I proposed my theory of regime and post-regime accountability. And that if you commit a crime or you're alleged to commit a crime, be man enough, be woman enough, enter the docket, raise your hand, plead guilty or not, defend yourselves. I have also said that here. When Nana Addo left office, Nana Addo, one of the biggest public statements he made is that all his former appointees should stay back and face justice accountability.
He told you that?
Yes, I've heard him say that in public. So the point I'm saying is that in public, I said I heard him say in public. The point I'm making is this. I have never and will never sit here and say that you should not be held accountable for your actions or inactions whilst in office. I've never said that. It's something that you do. If you don't want to be held accountable for that, don't take public office. That is my strongest position. Put it there. And secondly, come back. Look, for national service and for whatever we are doing, let's make sure that when you assume office, that you understand that you are spending public money and that you understand that the right thing must be done. And that's the point I end there with what you are saying. Yes, 1 month may not be enough, a year may be enough. So that's why I think that initially putting a date on when the report should be completed was also wrong.
All right. Dr. Friye, thank you very much for this morning. Okay, Dr. Friye is gone. And so, Dr. Jebunti Zato, thank you very much for coming. Fred as well. Fred Agbenyo, Member of Parliament for the Guan constituency. It used to be called, your constituency used to be, before then? Sao. Central Kofi. And then, of course, Dr. Inusa. What position do you hold in the United Party?
Interim Director for Political Research.
Okay. Director for Political Research. Okay. Interim. Is it an interim
your
position?
Your friend Prince has missed you, so you should come and visit him.
Okay.
All right. I'm talking to your role. Your friend Prince, agree.
We yansa mahoro timi call so e channel no so mamno asa jemre e hada sene so ba de adum yenia onia ye besan ehyiam ne asomu yi pa ha IGH Politics Avenue.